Dun-na-na, dun-na-na. Chicago Bears trade alert. The Bears have traded for an offensive lineman by the name of Dan Feeney from the Miami Dolphins, according to Brad Biggs and now other reports. My name is Harrison Graham. We are here to break down this trade on the night before NFL roster cutdown day, 3 o'clock Central Time on Tuesday. All teams will have to submit an initial 53-man roster. We will have that covered. That's why you subscribe to the channel. You also subscribe because it's almost 11 o'clock Central Time, and I'm here breaking down this video at my house. Just put down my son PJ for bed, and now hopping into my office to film this video. So hit that subscribe button for more coverage. All right, the Bears have added some offensive line help. Dan Feeney, who's a 6-year veteran in the NFL, former third-round pick with the Los Angeles Chargers, where he was a 4-year starter, has guard and center flexibility, spent the last 2 years with the Jets as an interior swing guy, 7 starts over the past couple of years, signed with the Dolphins this offseason to compete for a starting role, but that was not coming to fruition, so they have decided to ship him out, and the Bears, a team that's had some issues injury-wise on the interior of the offensive line, they have decided to add Dan Feeney. Now, as we film this at this exact moment, we do not have trade details, but I would imagine for a very late round pick, or maybe even some kind of pick swap where the Bears send, a 6th and they get Feeney in a 7th or something like that, or even vice versa if the Dolphins are just looking to shed some money. Now, for the Bears, all they absorb is the base salary plus roster bonus. Base salary $1.08 million, roster bonus $125,000. So you're talking about like a $1.2 million cap hit. So for the Bears, who have $14-15 million in cap space, this is certainly worthwhile. You think about the injury Chicago has right now. Tevin Jenkins at left guard, not going to be ready week 1, could miss multiple weeks. Might even be placed on short-term IR after the initial 53. Nate Davis has been in and out of training camp and hasn't practiced that much. I think he'll be ready week 1, but hasn't been super reliable. Cody Whitehair's had a hand injury, hasn't been able to snap, has had to move from center to left guard. Lucas Patrick has hardly been healthy since he's been here starting last year, and that has carried over into this training camp. Doug Kramer hurt his hand the other day at practice. The point being is the Bears have had 4 or 5 offensive linemen banged up. Darnell Wright at right tackle. This is not a guy who's going to play tackle, but mostly on the interior, but all over the offensive line. Outside of Braxton Jones, everybody's been out at some point or another. It was clear that Ryan Poles needed to add some offensive line help, so to get a guy like Dan Feeney here on the night before roster cutdown day, I think is certainly a deal that makes sense. Are you happy that the Bears made this move? Type H for happy or U for upset. Let me know down in the comments, H for happy or U for upset. I'm happy with it. You look at Dan Feeney's career, again, 3rd-round pick in 2017 out of the University of Indiana. You guys in Big Ten country might remember Feeney playing for the Hoosiers. Guard center flexibility for the Chargers in 4 seasons. He made 57 starts, some at guard, some at center, and then signed with the Jets, 2-year deal, 2021, 2022, and 2021 as a backup. Graded out pretty well per Pro Football Focus. 75.9 overall, almost an 80 run blocking grade. The pass blocking a little bit lower at 55 in that regard. This past year graded out kind of below average per PFF. Now, unless snaps, didn't play as much, didn't get as many opportunities for the Jets. All his grades in the 50s. His pass blocking was 64.1, so that was actually a tick higher, but overall didn't play as well for New York a year ago. Again, Miami, who had some offensive line issues the past couple of years, brought him on board to compete for a starting spot, but that was not going to be the case, and they have decided to ship him out here again for trade details that we don't exactly know at this point in time. Now, for Chicago, I think this clearly means he will make the 53. I think that's obviously safe. You don't make a trade the night before roster cutdown day and then cut said player. He will be on the 53. Now, who does that bump off? Does Doug Kramer get cut? Does that knock down, a defensive lineman, a player at a different position? It's hard to say for sure. I think the linemen that are for sure going to make this team are, Your projected starting five from left to right: Braxton Jones, Tevin Jenkins, Cody Whitehair, Jatiri Carter, and Darnell Wright. Lucas Patrick, unless he has something season ending, he'll be on the roster. Jatiri Carter, that's 7. Obviously, Alex Leatherwood got cut. Larry Borum's going to make it, that's 8. I think Dan Feeney's 9, so do you just carry 9? Does Doug Kramer make it? Do you IR stash Kramer again for another year? I think you'd like to avoid that if you could, but Kramer could just get cut too, and then you bring him back to the practice squad if no one poaches him off waivers, which I wouldn't be that concerned if you did. And if you know what, if someone does grab Doug Kramer, so be it. It's not like you made some huge investment in him. He was a late round pick last year. So we'll see. We'll see if the Bears carry 9 or 10. What they could do too is they cut Kramer initially and then put Tevin Jenkins on short-term IR and then bring Kramer back to the active 53. That could be a possibility as well. So we'll have to wait and see what happens in that regard. Interesting note from Jacob Infante, who covers the Bears for Windy City Gridiron. He said Feeney started 64 games in 6 seasons in the league. Orland Park native, Carl Sanburg High School, has guard center flexibility. And then he pointed out some of his PFF numbers from the last couple of years. Again, graded out better in 2021 than he did this past season in 2022. But I like the versatility. Why do you cut a guy like Alex Leatherwood as early as they did? Now, you can't play center. And you've had a lot of center injuries. Cody Whitehair's got a hand problem. Lucas Patrick can't stay healthy. Then Doug Kramer gets a hand injury, which, by the way, just sidebar, what is the deal with Bears and hand injuries? Like, oh, I can't snap the ball. I can play guard, though. We saw it with Lucas Patrick last year, and we've seen it with Cody Whitehair now this training camp. It's just very frustrating. So I wonder if, is Feeney in the mix to be your week 1 center? That would surprise me, but who knows at this point, right? I think there's a lot to still work out. But one thing is for sure, you needed to add some depth on the interior. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Clearly, the Bears were not happy with Alex Leatherwood's progress. That's why they cut him. Dieter Eisland's been around, but he's been mostly a practice squad guy. Feeney's a player that's played in this league, over 60 starts. You don't start that many games by accident. You have some level of ability as a former third-round pick, as a guy who can play center and guard. So we'll see. Ideally, he's a backup, but if he has to play, he's played before. He's not someone who has not been able to step in there and give you some snaps. So we will see what happens in that regard. I want you to predict this for me. Who's the week 1 starting center? I think it's one of 3 or 4 guys. I think it could be Cody Whitehair if his hand heals. It could be Lucas Patrick. Could be Dan Feeney. Could even be Doug Kramer. I'm going to guess Lucas Patrick. I know it's a weird one. I'm going to guess Lucas Patrick starts at center and Cody Whitehair starts at left guard for the absent Tevin Jenkins. That is my prediction, but let me know what you guys think. Predict who you believe will start at center in the NFL, or in NFL Week 1 against the Packers. Speaking of the Packers, can we get the FGBs going in the comments? 13 days away, 12 days away, if some of you guys are watching this after midnight or on Tuesday morning. We are getting close. We are getting so close to Week 1, and I can't wait. By the way, sidebar, chatsports.com/FGB. Pick up your FGB shirts right now. All right, my name is Harrison Graham. Chicago Bears acquire offensive lineman Dan Feeney from the Dolphins. Guard center flexibility. I expect him to be on the initial 53, and he can provide that depth. All right, guys, we'll be back tomorrow. Full breakdown of the Bears 53-man roster once it comes in. We will see you guys soon. Bear down and subscribe.